Welcome, everybody, to Postgame Takeaways with Inside ND Sports. I'm Tyler James, back at my Bay Area hotel that looks like a top secret lair. He's the one and only Eric Hansen. We cover Notre Dame football recruiting and more for InsideNDSports.com on the Rivals Network. And we're here to share our postgame takeaways from Notre Dame's 56-23 victory at Stanford. Eric, it wasn't a pretty start for Notre Dame, but it was pretty clear the Irish were the better team the whole night. What was your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway was they kind of condensed their whole season into one game. You had all the disasters and you had the great moments and the records, and all that was kind of combined into one game. And so, it's difficult to get away from the significance of Audric Estimé's revenge tour. I think that Stanford will probably call up the Doak Walker folks and say, hey, why did you not include him on there? Because he was very angry and ended up rushing for 238 yards and 4 touchdowns at 25 carries. And all those are career highs. I mean, he probably was one play away from going back in and getting a long run and surpassing Julius Jones for the single game school record, but he had all kinds of milestones on the night. And yet there was, I think, a lot of what's significant about the Stanford game is that it's over and that there are so many big things coming up, but we can get into those a little bit later.
Yeah, Audric could have easily hit 300 yards if the game was competitive. Like he was well over.
Well, all he had to do was keep turning it over a few more times.
He got over 200 easily into the third quarter, and the Doak Walker award really messed up. I think I can understand if you don't think Audric Estimé had the best season among running backs in college football, but to say he's not among the 10 best running backs in college football seems pretty asinine to me, and I think it was probably proven as much with tonight's performance. I thought in terms of what you said with this reflecting the entire season, I think it was like a reminder as, oh yeah, Sam Hartman didn't solve his inconsistencies last week. Like I thought that might have been his most impressive passing performance of the season, maybe not statistically, but just the way he was going about and being on the same page with his wide receivers in the Wake Forest game. But he threw a bad interception tonight. He fumbled tonight on a play where he tried to gain some extra yardage when he probably should have just went out of bounds. And he continued to struggle on the road in a Notre Dame uniform. And so he had the 2 touchdown passes, which were pretty easy throws and nice plays by Notre Dame, but the quarterback position wasn't exactly giving you what you hoped it would tonight, even though it wasn't even necessarily necessary for him to deliver a great performance.
Yeah, it was interesting. Stanford came in as the 4th worst pass efficiency defense in the country, and Notre Dame runs the ball for 381 yards as a team, which is kind of what Stanford had done best most of the year, was rush defense. But I mean, he did have a decent pass efficiency rating just because of the 2 touchdowns. That helps when you have only 8 completions and 2 of those are touchdowns. But
that's efficient. Yeah.
That didn't maybe get the NFL scouts going, hey, wait a second, maybe a 6th round pick, but he did enough in the game and was efficient enough to get them through. And really all phases kind of had the good and the bad moments. You had the Jadarian Price fumble on a kickoff return, and yet you had Javonte Jean-Baptiste running 60 yards with the Jason Onyé blocked field goal for a touchdown. You had some kind of 2 big gash plays early that the defense gave up, and yet they were really good. I mean, they had 7 quarterback hurries, 4 sacks, another really poor passing performance by a total of 4 quarterbacks that played for Stanford tonight. Jack Kaiser had the interception, though. I mean, there were a lot of good things to go along with the hiccups that Notre Dame had. And I think probably the thing that cracked me up, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but is how enamored Marcus Freeman was with the Legends Trophy, which I think before this week, I'm not sure that most of the fan base even knew that the Legends Trophy existed. I know the diehards know all the trophies, but the casual Notre Dame fan was like, Legends Trophy, what's that? What's that about? It's not like it's a megaphone.
Well, Brian Kelly didn't yell, that's a megaphone, but he did famously drink Gatorade out of it, which Marcus Freeman continued tradition this evening out at Stanford, drank some blue Gatorade out of the Legends Trophy before passing it on to Joe Alt to finish off the chug job. But that was a celebratory way for them to end the evening, although it was very strange. It was a very sort of muted celebration on the field after the game. Like Notre Dame's team was off the field before you knew it. The coaching staff that was up in the press box, everyone was already gone from the field by the time they got down there. That's how quick Notre Dame sort of got out of there as the game was obviously well won well before the end. So there wasn't a lot to continue celebrating out on the field.
Did they have the press conferences in an airline hangar?
Well, that's a very small, weird room where Brian Kelly famously gave his last press conference as a Notre Dame head coach a couple of years ago.
Charlie Weiss did too, but many more years than a couple ago.
To the defense, I found this statistic kind of funny. You mentioned that Stanford's passing attack wasn't great, but Stanford had 216 passing yards. Do you know where that ranks for Notre Dame opponents this season?
Probably pretty high because the last two have been around 100 or below 100.
Yeah, it's third behind NC State and Ohio State. So that sort of puts into context how good Notre Dame's passing defense has been, and it remained the case this Saturday at Stanford. I thought the interception by Jack Kaiser was a big moment in the game where Stanford was going down, trailing 21-16, but in position to potentially score again. But instead, through interception to Kaiser, Notre Dame gets to score again before the half runs out. And then that made way for things to get out of control in Notre Dame's favor in the third quarter.
Okay, so something I wrote about, I led with, was the whole sideline flare-up. It was a big deal on social media. People saw it on the Pac-12 network, even though the Pac-12 announcers didn't really acknowledge it was even happening. But you could see Marcus Freeman getting heated with Audric, Estimé, and Dylan McCullough, the running backs coach. And so people were like, is he mad at Audric? And yes, he was, but not because of anything Audric did. It was because of something Jabron Payne did, which looked like it was going to be a lost fumble near the goal line, and instead was reversed by replay into a touchdown. But Marcus and Audric explained it probably better than Marcus did. Audric said, you know what? I'm the leader of our offense. I'm the leader of the running backs room. And Coach Freeman was holding Coach McCullough and I to a high standard. This is the standard he wants. So they were the ones that got chewing out. And Audric loved it. He said it's an example of great coaching. And so it got him fired up, and he continued on his quest of being a human wrecking ball in the second half to the Stanford defense.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman didn't get into like specifics about exactly what they were talking about. I wonder if it had something to do with the fact that Jabron Payne reached out for the goal line like he did. I know some coaches believe like, hey, there's no need for us to do that. As the possession of the ball is the most important. We don't want to fumble near the goal line. Yes, we may want to score, but unless time's running out or it's fourth down, some coaches don't even want you to put the ball in a position to fumble. And obviously, upon review, it was clear that the ball didn't come out until both Jabron Payne had crossed the goal line and he had already hit the ground. That was the reason the ball came out in the first place. So all for naught in terms of the worry that was happening on the Notre Dame sideline, but certainly an interesting interaction that folks alerted me to. I didn't see it while in the press box, but it was sort of interesting to see and to hear the explanation after the game. I wanted to highlight the Notre Dame linebackers. I mentioned Kaiser already. I just think we talk about the defense a lot, and I think the linebackers just don't get enough credit necessarily. J.D. Bertrand had 6 tackles, a tackle for a loss, and a quarterback hurry. Maris Leofau had 5 tackles, 2.5 tackles for a loss, and a half a sack. That shared sack that he had was huge on Stanford's first drive, where they get some momentum, and then they sort of lose it all there when Maris Leofau and Javonte Jean-Baptiste combined for the sack, and that forced Stanford to end up settling for a field goal, which I know the final score may not indicate it, but forcing Stanford to settle for field goals on those early scoring drives were big to keep Notre Dame in a comfortable position early in the game, even if the things weren't necessarily going Notre Dame's way.
Even some of the backups had decent numbers. Drake Bowen had 4 tackles in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jalen Sneed had a couple. So, yeah. But I guess to me, the thing that's really interesting is what's going to happen after this game, because Marcus Freeman's going to have a Zoom conference with the media on Monday for like 20 minutes, and it's not anything specific. It's to try to address some of the things that will be coming up. You've got a week from Sunday, you will have the transfer portal opening. You'll also find out where Notre Dame's going for its bowl game. And then in between, I think there's going to be a lot of conversations about who's going to play in the bowl game, who's coming back for 2024, who wants to go into the NFL draft. I mean, a lot of these things that are going to shape next year, maybe even the start of some decisions about what's going on with the staff. And there may be none. I mean, the changes may end up being just people being offered higher positions at, either in the NFL or another college team. So it won't be nearly as interesting as what went on at Texas A&M today with the Mark Stoops going to take the job and not going to take the job.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with that. It seemed like the coaching search domino started to fall, but that domino got put back up into standing position after the Mark Stoops decision this evening. Yeah, Notre Dame's likely not going to play another game for a month now. I mean, almost certainly won't play another game for a month now, but it's going to be an interesting time regardless with the offseason processes that sort of start, even though it's not necessarily offseason. We start to get into next season mode with these decisions about next season that come into play with the transfer portal, the NFL, and coaching staff. So plenty to follow along with. Should be a relatively quiet time going forward for Notre Dame's recruiting class in the 2024 class. And that's probably a knock on wood for any Notre Dame fans and Notre Dame coaches, but seems like Notre Dame's probably going to cruise into the signing period with the class that it has intact and potentially not and likely not add any more guys to it. I don't think I have anything else to add from tonight. Eric, is there anything else you want to hit on before we get out of here?
Yes. We do have besides the 30-day free trial we have at the bottom, we also have a Black Friday / Cyber Monday and whatever the adjectives are for Saturday and Sunday in between. There's
small business Saturday,
small business Saturday and sensational Sunday. I don't know, but there's a huge sale going on where you can get Inside ND Sports for 75% off if you're a new subscriber for the coming year. Check out our website or just click on my game column because the promo will be in that and it'll tell you how to sign up for it because we are not caffeinated enough to go through the directions right now. And Tyler has really bad hotel Wi-Fi. He's not being a ventriloquist. His lips really are moving with everything he's saying.
Yeah, I think it might be Eric's Sunroom Sunday, I think is the deal for Sunday. But I think that's it for us for Postgame Takeaways. Like Eric mentioned, we always have the 30-day free trial available for our YouTube audience. That's NDYT for the promo code. I'll include both that and the promo code for the annual subscription deal that Eric mentioned there. With the promo code is Rivals 2023, and that deal runs through Monday. So don't miss out on that. If you want to go ahead and make the plunge for a full year as a first-time subscriber, this is a great time to do so. Those links will be in the video description below, and we will be back on Monday night to discuss Marcus Freeman's press conference and anything else that comes up between now and then with Football Never Sleeps.